A Ukrainian FPV drone targeted an abandoned house where 13 Russian soldiers were stationed. After the explosion, the soldiers exited and moved into a neighboring house. Misjudging the situation, they believed relocating would protect them, but Ukrainian forces struck the second house with a more powerful explosive, neutralizing the threat. Only one of the 13 Russian soldiers survived the attack, managing to crawl out from beneath the rubble. In the Donetsk direction, fighters of the 47th Separate Mechanized Brigade together with operators from the strike drone company successfully destroyed a Russian reconnaissance group attempting to establish a foothold in a civilian house in the vicinity of Pokers. The group, numbering around 20 individuals, moved in covertly and infiltrated the building in small groups. First, about 8 entered, followed later by another 12, some of whom were carried on stretchers. Once all members were inside, a Ukrainian FPV drone executed a precise maneuver, flying through a broken window and striking the target. The resulting detonation was especially powerful, likely intensified by munitions the group had been carrying, and dealt a severe blow to the reconnaissance unit. In the Kherson direction, Ukrainian forces released footage showing the moment a group of Russian Marines, likely attempting a covert rotation or evacuation by boat along the Dnipro River, came under strike from a Ukrainian FPV drone. According to reports, Ukrainian intelligence first detected the boat's movement on the left bank of the river in Kherson Oblast. Preliminary information suggests the Russian Marines were trying to redeploy personnel or evacuate wounded using a small watercraft to avoid land-based fire pressure. As the boat emerged onto open water, the distinctive sound of an FPV drone grew louder. The drone rapidly closed in, struck the vessel with precision, and detonated on impact. The explosion destroyed the boat and brought the attempted operation to a complete halt. In the area near Robotyne, Zaporizhia Oblast, a Russian soldier riding an electric scooter was engaged by a Ukrainian loitering drone. Choosing an unusual mode of transport on the front line, the soldier traveled a long distance along the road. Unaware of the danger, a Ukrainian loitering drone was silently trailing him from behind. The outcome was unavoidable. He was impacted by the drone. Ukraine's 34th Coastal Defense Brigade successfully targeted Russian drone operators in the occupied Kherson region. The location of the operators was identified, and a strike was conducted using a high-explosive loitering munition. A Ukrainian FPV drone pilot has a Russian military vehicle in his sights. The Russian soldiers notice the drone behind them and immediately jump out of the vehicle and start running away. The FPV drone pilot chooses to abandon the soldiers and destroy the vehicle instead. Similarly, multiple vehicles were destroyed using drones. The FPV drone's next target is a Russian military UAZ vehicle. As the soldiers approach the drone, they immediately jump out of the vehicle and flee. Ukrainian operators used drones to destroy several vehicles. Each strike was precise, leaving the enemy with no chance to recover their losses. It was another clear example of how drones dominate today's battlefield. A Russian soldier moving alone in open terrain in the Toretsk region was detected by the 414th Strike UAV Brigade. Another pickup truck parked nearby suffered the same fate. Russian drones struck one by one, leaving nothing but wreckage and fire in their path. The sudden precision of the strikes left Ukrainian troops stunned and disoriented. In moments, the entire supply convoy was reduced to ashes. A Russian soldier moving alone in the Andreyka area was detected by Ukrainian reconnaissance. Looking for a place to hide, he entered an abandoned house, but a Ukrainian FPV drone immediately closed in and carried out the strike. The first strike shocked and panicked the soldier, forcing him to flee into a small hut. Moments later, a second drone attack targeted the hut, and the powerful blast left him with no chance of escape. Two Russian soldiers were spotted in an open field in the Luhansk region, advancing with fuel cans in their hands. Shortly thereafter, Ukrainian forces launched an FPV drone. The Russian soldiers attempted to shoot it down, but their efforts were unsuccessful. Ukrainian forces had a T-72 tank in their sights. The tank was first struck by a drone attack. Soon after, the Russian tank made a critical mistake and fell into a roadside ditch. Having lost all mobility and unable to move, it became an easy target. Drone strikes followed in succession. Several Russian soldiers managed to exit and escape, but others remained inside as the tank was destroyed by the continued attacks. The Ukrainian Signum Battalion spotted a Russian soldier in a deserted area of the Det region. The soldier attempted to conceal himself behind a tree to avoid detection, but these efforts proved ineffective. Once the FPV drone found a suitable angle, it struck his position directly. You can support us by liking and commenting on the video. Ukraine's 38th Marine Infantry Brigade targeted a Russian military vehicle transporting ammunition in the Pukovsk region. As the FPV drone rapidly approached, a Russian soldier positioned on top of the vehicle noticed it. However, the sudden encounter caused him to panic, leaving him unable to respond effectively. Ukrainian forces spotted a Russian soldier advancing on a motorcycle. An FPV drone was immediately launched to intercept. The soldier crashed and was unable to recover from under the motorcycle, ultimately becoming the drone's target. Ukrainian FPV drones are activated after detecting the presence of a Russian soldier. The soldier begins to flee upon noticing the incoming drone. The drone operator carefully tracks the target, navigating through the air to execute a precise approach. The panicking infantryman struggled to run. The FPV drone managed to catch up with the Russian soldier in a short time. The infantryman kept making sudden maneuvers, almost spinning around his own axis. The drone operator continued to pursue the soldier with determination. He was trying to tire him out further. The Russian soldier attempted to use a small tree for cover, making quick maneuvers around it in a desperate effort to evade detection. The drone operator moved with precision and restraint, waiting for the right moment. With the soldier gradually losing strength, the operator continued to press forward. Eventually, the Russian soldier could no longer flee and resorted to crawling among the tree branches. The drone maintained its position, rising and adjusting its angle to keep the target in focus. However, the infantryman showed notable resilience, despite clear signs of exhaustion. The drone operator executed a series of swift and unexpected maneuvers around the target, catching him off guard. The sudden ascent of the drone into the sky further disoriented the enemy soldier. The drone locked onto the infantryman and dove with precision between the branches of the small tree. Moments later, a powerful detonation took place. The enemy infantryman was neutralized as a result of the explosion. In another episode, a Ukrainian reconnaissance drone detected 3 Russian soldiers sheltering inside a civilian garage, believing they were unseen. After confirming their presence, the decision was made to equip the drone with an explosive payload and direct it into the structure. The strike resulted in the garage's destruction and the loss of life among those inside. Shortly after, another Russian hideout was identified in a basement after one careless soldier revealed its location. A Ukrainian drone was dispatched into the confined space, where it detonated among those inside, neutralizing the threat. In a separate strike, another Russian soldier was discovered attempting to conceal himself inside a residential home, believing he would remain unnoticed. On one of the active sectors, aerial scouts spot a vehicle transporting enemy troops. An FPV drone is launched on an intercept course. It closes in head-on, forcing the driver into sudden evasive maneuvers. The strike lands with force, sending the vehicle off balance and into a crash. One passenger is thrown from the rear as the vehicle loses control. Reconnaissance footage documents the entire sequence, from the moment the target entered view, through the impact, and finally to the wreckage left behind. The video opens with Ukrainian Security Service Special Forces on the move during a combat mission. While advancing in their vehicle, they suddenly come under threat from an enemy FPV drone closing in. Realizing the danger, the soldiers react instantly, stopping the car, dismounting, and opening fire with small arms. Their response is calm, precise, and disciplined. Within moments, accurate fire hits its mark, detonating the drone midair before it can reach the vehicle. With the threat neutralized, the special forces regroup, remount their vehicle, and continue their mission without delay. The Signum drone team, operating under the Ukrainian Armed Forces, tracked a vehicle belonging to opposing forces. It was identified as a UAZ 39094 type transport truck. The vehicle was heavily loaded, carrying both personnel inside and a full tank of fuel. The second target was the famous Russian Bohanka minibus. It had reached a checkpoint but did not leave. After the attack, the vehicle was reduced to ashes, a one-time transportation story. The third target was a speeding Niva. It tried to escape, looking fast and determined, but it was too slow for the drone's targeting system. The drone fatally cut off the speeding ticket. The final scene featured a Kamaz truck hidden deep within a dense pine forest. Interestingly, a hammock was set up right next to it, perhaps a soldier was resting there, dreaming of escape or capture. But the Ukrainian drones had other plans. Instead of arrest, they offered him a one-way vacation ticket. No return. 4 Russian soldiers were spotted entering an abandoned house in the Kursk region. The 54th Mechanized Brigade launched a strike on the position once their location was confirmed. The building where the soldiers were hiding was completely destroyed. Russian soldiers traveling in a UAZ vehicle in the Lyman region came under attack from an FPV drone. Although the soldiers jumped out of the vehicle at the last moment, they were unable to fully avoid the strike. Ukrainian forces targeted an armored infantry carrier that had already been damaged in earlier fighting. An FPV drone then entered the vehicle and delivered the final blow. Strangely, the vehicle began firing on its own. Most likely, one of the Russian soldiers inside unintentionally pressed the firing mechanism during the chaos. After prolonged firing, the shooting finally ceased. The vehicle and its occupants were completely neutralized. Ukraine's 45th Artillery Brigade destroyed several Russian UGVs in the Siv region. These unmanned ground vehicles had been lying in wait for Ukrainian soldiers. However, once their locations were identified, they were neutralized by precise FPV drone strikes. In Crimea, under Russian control, Ukraine's drone strike unit primary destroyed 2 Russian An-26 aircraft and also hit a surface radar station along with an MR-10 coastal radar. These strikes disrupted Russian military communication systems in the region. A Russian military vehicle transporting newly deployed soldiers to the front became the target of a fiber-optic drone. The troops on board did not notice the drone closing in until it was too late. The Ukrainian Air Force Command identified a building housing a group of 50 Russian personnel. After waiting for them to assemble, a 3,000 kilograms bomb was deployed. The strike was so powerful that the entire building was completely destroyed, leaving no survivors inside. Ukrainian forces struck a tower where Russian soldiers were sheltering. The tower was completely destroyed by a drone-deployed bomb. Many Russian troops continue attempting to conceal themselves in abandoned structures and buildings along the front lines. Their situation there remains highly precarious. This time, the footage comes from Russian soldiers themselves. It shows how they are struggling against Ukrainian drones on the front lines. Music, an advancing Russian unit suddenly encounters a drone strike. In panic, the group scatters, abandoning their motorcycles and running into an open field, but the drones continue pursuing them. The scene highlights the difficult conditions Russian forces face on the Ukrainian front, where ongoing drone pressure is steadily eroding their strength. This time, the footage comes from Russian soldiers themselves. It shows how they are struggling against Ukrainian drones on the front lines. Music, an advancing Russian unit suddenly encounters a drone strike. In panic, the group scatters, abandoning their motorcycles and running into an open field, but the drones continue pursuing them. The scene highlights the difficult conditions Russian forces face on the Ukrainian front, where ongoing drone pressure is steadily eroding their strength.